In this video, I'm traveling down to the South Island to raid a pine nut farm of their pine cones so we can macerate them and then distill it. I'll be real, this one sounds kind of weird, but let's give it a nudge. Okay, real talk. This is the story of my wife getting her way. She had been eyeing up the Abel Tasman track as a family outing for ages, and I was being my usual grumpy self about going anywhere. So she sweetened the deal a little and convinced me that we should go on a little side quest to Pinoli, a pine nut farm down in the South Island, after convincing me that distilling pine cones is actually a thing. Right after getting off the ferry over Cook Strait, we headed straight to Pinoli. And I'll be real with your team, I've never thought that much of pine nuts. They always kind of tasted like talking to myself. And I've since learned that just about every pine nut that you can get at a supermarket, at least in New Zealand, comes from China. And they taste like nothing. After tasting the pine nuts direct from Pinoli, I can 100% say I've changed my mind. They can actually be downright delicious, and now I would be excited to try cooking with them. It turns out there's roughly 20 species of pine that you can harvest pine nuts from, and the range and different aesthetics of the pine cones themselves is absolutely nuts. But Pinoli focused specifically on the stone pine, which is what I'm going to be using for this video. They grow, harvest, process, and package it all themselves right here in New Zealand, which is pretty cool. If you're interested in finding out more about their products, I'll put a link to their website down in the description below. They graciously pinched a few pine cones for us directly off the trees. Here's the thing, with the research that, I'll be real, my wife did, apparently the perfect time to pick pine cones for this purpose is when they've started to form that kind of classic pine cone shape, but they're still green, a little soft, and still resinous. Unfortunately, the ones we got, I think we were probably there about a week, 2 weeks late. Apparently, it's also really important to get the pine cones straight off the tree and into the brandy. So we had brandy with us. This is what the brandy was made out of, and I'll put a link in the description down below to the video making that if you want to check it out. So we left our pine cone maceration in the boot of the car, headed off to the Abel Tasman track with the family, and I have to tell you guys, wifey was right on this one. If you're in New Zealand and you have the chance to do the Abel Tasman track, just freaking do it. It's absolutely stunning. Admittedly, it was a little grueling for the kids, but they were champions and they smashed it. And to be honest, it's kind of ruined me for bushwalks in New Zealand. I love the bush in New Zealand, but why would you walk in any old bush when you can walk through New Zealand bush and pop out into beaches like this every 5 kilometers or so? Absolutely amazing. Anyway, all of this was around about 2.5 months ago now. So I guess it's time to actually make a decision on this, decide what we're going to do with it. About probably 3-4 weeks ago, I had a cheeky little taste, and at that time, I kind of couldn't understand the idea of distilling it because honestly, it just made the brandy taste like better brandy. I don't know, it felt more balanced than it did before it went in. The fruit flavor was popping more. But I didn't get a lot of the actual kind of piney pine cone sort of flavors from it. Now, it's a whole different beast. It's definitely astringent. It's definitely kind of resiny. And I don't taste kind of a Christmas tree vibe from it much at all. But every now and again, I get this waft, a smell. I almost can't find it when I go looking for it. But then randomly it'll smack me across the face and make me think of Christmas, which is pretty cool. All of those problems with the spirit, I think we can fix up with distillation. So I don't think there's much to this, guys. I think I'm literally just going to strain this into the pot. Ugh. That could have gone wrong. And I guess what I should do is take an ABV reading on this because I actually can't remember. It's bad of me, but I can't remember what ABV it is. So let's get an ABV reading. We'll figure out if we need to proof it down, and then get on to doing a pot still run on it. Funnily enough, doing this as my full-time job, I actually find myself drinking a whole lot more responsibly than I used to, but I do also need to do a whole lot of taste testing, and I'm finding out that I don't exactly bounce back from that the way I used to. Enter the sponsor of today's video. ZBiotics pre-alcohol drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to help tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's responsible for making you feel rough the next morning. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics the first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Click the link in the description to get 15% off and a no questions asked money back guarantee. Boom. 40% ABV. Right on the nose. So let's put just a smidge of water in there to make sure. I do wonder if the resin, etc. from the pine cones or whatever else is getting in there. We'll throw this off a bit. Yeah, that's saying 35% now, so I am good to roll. Boom. There's my power cord. Dude, I gotta get this place organized, man. I am so bad, so messy. Anyway, here it is. Might get a little bit more out of this now the pine cones have had a chance to dribble off. There we go. Yes, by the way, I was naughty with the gaskets on this one. I do use these, get off here. I do use these gaskets from the swing top jars. I don't know exactly what kind of plastic they are. The problem was, I knew this was going to be sloshing around in the back of the car, and when you wrap them in PTFE, they're close to airtight, but not quite. And I didn't want this dribbling all through the back of the car for 2 days. So I left this on, and then I was naughty. I was supposed to switch it over to a PTFE wrapped gasket when I got home, and I never did it. Bad, Jesse. Bad, bad. Anyway, now we are good to go. That would help. Boom. All right, let's let this warm up and we'll see what we get. All right. We're just getting up to temperature. Sorry, the rain is coming down pretty hard. I'll do what I can to audio again. It's that time of year. Because this is a brandy, I am going to take a little bit off the top and just ditch it no matter what. I mean, that's all of 10 mils. Okay, that tastes pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Just a touch headsy right now, which isn't surprising for something like this when you're redistilling something that was double pot distilled, especially a brandy when you have to kind of go hunting for flavor up near the heads. So once again, I don't want to lose these flavors. We're getting real close now. But I'm also just going to take a little smidge out. Right now, all I'm getting is brandy / sort of fruit flavors, none of the pine cone. Happy to let it go just for a little bit longer. Okay, we're good. We are good. Boom. All right. So, I mean, that's maybe another 15 mils or something I took. Very, very interested to see if and or when these pine coney Christmas tree-like flavors are going to come over. So, I guess I'll let this run for a little while, and I'll come back to you when something different, interesting, unexpected happens. We shall see. It's kind of interesting to see, actually, that, I mean, I've not collected a lot yet, right? And already we're past all of the really kind of fresh, volatile fruit flavors. But yeah, another little mental note on focusing on the top end of the run for fresh fruit flavor. We still have kind of a deeper, kind of somewhere between almost like stone fruity and almost banana-like kind of flavor ticking along. And now I'm getting a flavor that's a little hard to describe. It's not quite wood. It's definitely not anything like white oak, but it's kind of wood adjacent. I think it's kind of that astringent-ish flavor that I was getting earlier without the astringency, if that makes sense. It kind of tastes like it's going to get astringent, but then never quite gets to astringent. I don't know how to categorize that. I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's a positive. I like it in terms of it being something a little bit different. And I'm just starting, as I was talking, I felt like I got a waft, a hint of the more resiny Christmas tree thing. Interesting, very interesting. All right, I think between here and the end of the run is going to be where the interesting part happens in terms of the actual, more of the pine cone flavors coming out. I've yet to just straight up smell or taste the Christmas tree light flavor, but it's bizarre. Like, I'm doing some random other projects over here while this is running that have nothing to do with distilling, and it'll just smack me in the face for a second. Be like, dude, there's a Christmas tree a meter that way. And then I come looking for it and it's not really here. I can't taste it. I can't find it. It's kind of messing with my head. So I don't know, man. Maybe my senses still aren't 100% back to normal after being crook a little while back. Kind of crazy how long it's taken me to get over that. Or maybe it's just one of those things where it's not super obvious. Maybe all of this needs to be blended back together and then it'll pop out. I don't know. It's bizarre, but quite alluring and enticing at the same time. So let's get this proofed down. I'm aiming for 40% ABV here. There we go. Get this into a bottle. And I'll be honest, I need to get this video done. Whoa, that was close. Relatively quickly, but I did want to bottle it up. I think I have about 4 hours to let this sit, let it come together a little bit after being proofed down, and give it a taste. Let's give this a nudge. I've realized what I really should have done is saved some of the original brandy before I put the pine cones in it. Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Oh well, here we go. The first thing I notice is that as a brandy, this smells way better than I ever remember the original brandy being. And it was good before. It wasn't something that I took the bottle inside and wanted to sip on all the time. Now I think it might be. Now I think this bottle's coming inside by the smell. I doubt very much that's just the extra couple of months sitting for the brandy. It has something to do with the pine cones. Now, I feel like I'm getting a hint of the kind of Christmas tree pine nut aroma at the moment. Oh wow, yeah, that's really pleasant now. On the brandy side of things, the thing I'm noticing is it has more body. It's more full. It has much more of an impression of sweetness. It's kind of mouth-watering. It makes me salivate when I drink it now. It makes me want to put this back in my face and drink more of it. But the strawberry guava is jumping out a whole lot more. There is a slight kind of resinous, I don't know if it's a flavor, a mouthfeel, a sensation, kind of maybe a little bit of all three, which is pleasant, and it's not something I've ever really noticed in a spirit before. It reminds me more of hops, I'll be real with you. And every time I've tried to put hops into a spirit, they go kind of strange, and this isn't weird or strange, so that's cool. It's very, very pleasant to sip on now. So the tasting that you saw just a second ago was about 4 or 5 nights ago, and I came back to have another taste to see if letting it sit in the bottle had kind of improved it a little bit. And unfortunately, it's kind of done the opposite. The vibrant, fresh kind of fruit aspects on the nose are still there, but they're muted way down. That resinous, almost going to be bitter or astringent thing that isn't, has kind of dialed up a little bit. And on the palate, it has exactly the same thing, but also it's gotten harsher. It's gotten, not alcohol burny, but it's almost like a heavy IPA beer-like feeling in the mouth without actually being bitter. It's a weird one, and I don't think I've ever had anything get worse after being proofed down and then be left to sit for 5 days. So maybe it's just like a phase that it's going through, and in another week or 2 weeks or month, it'll go back to being good. Maybe not. I don't know. If you have experience distilling pine cones, I'm sure I've done about 1,000 things wrong. So hook me up in the comments. If you haven't done this before and you think you've got some ideas on what would improve it, do the same. I'll catch you next time, guys. See ya.